Hi, folks. This is Dr. Rob Cywes. I am the carb addiction doc. And today is a very relevant video for this time of the year. We're going to talk about how to survive the holidays without taking a massive step sideways or backwards. And, the problem with not just the holiday period, but generally our existence, especially in the more affluent countries, is for the first time as a species, we have this tremendous abundance and easy access to foods, particularly manufactured foods, that are abundantly available. And at times of happiness, at times of pleasure, it is so easy to overindulge. And especially if we don't want to offend the people we're hanging out with, or everybody else is eating, or it's dished up for you, how do you defend yourself? And I'm just going to give you some insights into how we handle things ourselves. And quite frankly, this period has already started this year. I typically look at the 31st of December to the 2nd of January as the most challenging time of the year, at least certainly in the United States. So just as a starting point, because this video is dropping after Halloween, number one, go through your house and throw away the Halloween candy. It's probably still there. Oh, I didn't have any. That's great if you didn't have any. But get rid of all the Halloween crap that's there. Give it away. Get rid of it. Because if it is still there, it is not there for decoration, folks. It is there to be consumed. Now, the next part about preparing for the holidays from a biologic and a ketogenic diet maintenance perspective is to have a degree of ownership. And the ownership is this: I value my journey to date more than I am willing to take the risk of falling apart. In other words, I cannot help you. Stop watching this video now if your intent, if you've already made up your mind to say, okay, on Thanksgiving, on Christmas, I'm going to eat this. If you've already found a sophisticated way to give yourself the ability to relapse, an intentional relapse, a planned relapse, don't bother with this video. And in 6 months' time or a year's time, I'll see you when you come back to the fold. There are very, very few people with a carbohydrate addiction or an addiction to anything that can intentionally relapse and suddenly come back. You may say, oh, I just ate one day and I didn't eat the rest of it. But there's a mental aspect that changes, because addiction is managed by the word permission. And once you go down that pathway of sophisticated permission, you're going to find more and more events to do that. And all it requires is a sudden, unexpected event in your life, usually an unpleasant one, to trigger that act of permission. So if you've already made a plan, decided for yourself you're going to screw up, don't bother watching this video. You've already decided this video has no impact on you. However, if you would like to stay true to yourself, if you would like to continue a journey of self-esteem, self-confidence, self-respect, by not being a victim of the holidays, yet still enjoying them, let's talk about it. The first thing is this: look at your calendar, and on your calendar, mark down when the difficult days are going to be. And it's not just the day of Thanksgiving, which is on the last Thursday of the month of November. It's not just on Christmas Day, which for most people falls on the 25th of December or the 24th, 25th. Look at what you are going to do in that region. For example, we're going to be away with my family for 3 or 4 days over Thanksgiving. Mark that entire time period down and isolate those days that are different from your normal routine. So I put an R for my routine days. I look at the days where I'm going to be off my regular routine. Those are the days I want to focus on. The second thing, if weight is a factor for you, if you're still trying to lose weight, I'm kind of marginal in that regard. I'm still always fighting that battle with up weight, and that's for a different video. But one of the ways to do this is to weigh yourself today, get on the scale today, write that number down, and either you're going to maintain that number or you're going to see if you can be 2 or 3 pounds under that number. And I want to be 4 pounds below where I currently am on the 2nd of January. So I have created an intentional purpose for me of 4 pounds of weight loss during this Christmas period. Then you structure how you're going to do it. So the first thing we look at and need to understand is that anytime the pace of your day changes, there's going to be an emotional overtone to that change in pace. And anytime the routine of your regular days changes, there's going to be an emotional disruption because of that routine. So on those days that you've itemized where your routine is going to be different, where you're going to have exposure to problematic issues, one of the first things I'm looking for you to do is in the morning, put emotional money in the bank. Do something early in the morning or at the beginning of the day that you generate in isolation by yourself that makes you self-approve. For me, it's usually a long walk and some meditative time early in the morning. I usually get up a little bit early on those days to buy some unique time for myself, personal time that belongs to me, and into that space, I put something intentional that I know I'm going to approve of. So it's usually a long walk or a run. Might involve some weights. I'm kind of physically active in terms of my mentality, but it's certainly also going to include perhaps something charitable, perhaps some spiritual or meditative moment. And it's a moment to look at my day and understand how I want my day or the next few days to unfold in my life. And once you've got that emotional money in the bank, where you've put some pride, some positivity in the bank, you're less likely to screw up, even if it's kind of something that just jumps on you. So when you start that from a foundation of positivity, where you've actively done something positive in the morning for yourself, you've made the effort and you've self-approved, you're less likely to be a victim during the day. The next thing is get into your routine. Have a bridge drink available to you. We've talked about bridge drinks elsewhere, but have something available to you that you are sipping that connects subconsciously your brain to the consumption of something that is positive, that is beneficial, like my coffee that's got no calories in it. And have that available to you that you can surrogate for any snacks that come at you for having that sip of coffee. Even if you're the person preparing the food, if you're making the food, it's very common. I'm just going to have a little taste. I'm just going to have a little. Try to avoid that, because once you give yourself permission to have that first taste, that first little bite, I'm just testing in the kitchen, it takes on a relationship of its own. If I'm cooking, whether it's a glass of wine or whether it is my coffee, and it's usually my coffee, I'm sipping on that. I have that available to me as my little bridge segue, even though I'm having the fun of helping to prepare the meal. So have that available, do that intentionally. But try not to taste. Oh, but I've got to taste, I have to. Try not to do that. The next thing is, if you're coming up to the Christmas period or the holiday period and you've always been the person to bake the cookies, change that up. If your gift to other people has always been your drug of choice, you're really not doing it for them. You're doing it for yourself. So this year, can I make something different? If I'm good at woodworking, can I do some woodworking things for the family? Can I buy something for them? Can I get flowers instead of making cake? Can I buy them a meat pack, a pack of steak, or something else that is more meaningful, particularly this year when food is so expensive? Can I maybe package up some really good, healthy food for them instead of giving them crystal meth? Because the reality is this, you're not giving that crap to them. You're not buying it for them. That is not a treat for them. You're just using them as a sophisticated excuse for yourself. So try to avoid the preparation of high carbohydrate food. If you were an alcoholic that was sober, how much alcohol would you go out and buy for everybody else? Probably not. Probably not. And you put yourself in a very vulnerable situation when you do. That, again, is up to you how you want to do that. But I would strongly recommend finding an alternative to making carbohydrates for other people. The next thing is this. When it comes to the event, to the meal event, if you have a partner, I have a wife, and my wife and I know that if we're going to friends of ours, they often have they often have a buffet. There's usually going to be very threatening carbohydrates on that buffet. So the decision that I make, that my wife and I make together, is anytime we're at a buffet, it doesn't matter where it is, but particularly over the holidays. And even if you're doing a sit-down food where the food comes around, my wife dishes up my food and I dish up her food. So that we are far more likely to prepare plates that are safe for each other than we are for ourselves. The temptation to put crap on the plate. Oh, here, have a little bit. Oh, you got to try my special pumpkin pie or whatever the hell it is that Aunt Tilly's making for you. But if you say, you know what, I'm setting up this plate for my wife. She doesn't like that. It's easier to be objective in the third party, to say no on behalf of your spouse, rather than it is to say, actually, I don't want any. So it's just a way to help you to defend yourself under that pressure from everybody else that believes in the diet methodology that if you have a little bit, you're perfectly safe. Remember this, in addiction management, the first bite gets you into trouble. If you never had a bite of Halloween candy, you're going to be safe. But once you open that first candy, most of the time, you're going to have the second, the third, the fourth, the 10th, and you're probably still nibbling on leftover Halloween candy. So be very aware of the word permission. But if you have that alternative, that's the ideal. The next thing is this, that at the end of the meal, there's usually an abundance of dessert. The best thing you can do at the end of the meal is get up and do something. Go and play with the kids because they're usually running around and playing in the pool and doing other things. Or go for a walk. Or go and meet somebody else up and have a conversation with them in another room. Find something else to do while everybody else is picking out on dessert, but remove yourself from that space. Get up from the table. There's plenty of other people out there. So the other people are so busy picking out, they're not going to notice your absence. But go and do something meaningful right at the end of eating food. Eating food. And if you want more food, perfectly fine to go and get more, but talk to your spouse, talk to that other person that's going to dish up your plate. Don't pile it high with food. Have a small amount of everything. And if you want more, ask them to go back and get you more. Eat sequentially, even under those conditions. Oh my God, I'm stuffed. Because if you've overeaten, you are less likely to get up and go and do something else. You're less likely to go for that walk. You're probably going to be sitting there, and when they pass around the dessert or somebody else, you become a victim. So the key thing about dealing with the holidays is have a preemptive plan, know where you're going to get yourself into trouble, and most importantly, before you even decide what you're going to eat, make a decision about what you're going to do. What am I going to do from an effort-based emotion management perspective to give myself that sense of pride, that sense of accomplishment, and leverage that sense of pride in an act that you did, something effort-based, against the temptation to do drugs. And demonize the drugs, at least in your head. Be a little bit arrogant to say, that's disgusting. Look at, and find the fattest person or the most diabetic person, just watch them eating. And say, ew, how the hell can they do that? Don't do that out loud. Don't put that on your face. But just inside your head, it's okay to be arrogant. A little bit like a vegan watching someone eat a steak. How can you eat Bambi? Watch me. But be arrogant about the fact that the way somebody else in your environment, and there's always going to be that person. It's so ubiquitous. There's always going to be that person that's pigging out, that's snacking on stuff. Just watch, be observant, and you will see that person that you do not want to be. And of course, don't be that person that everybody else is watching. But don't be a victim of pressurization. So the simple thing is, hey, my wife's going to get my food. Thanks so much, but she's getting my food today. Or whatever, make a decision up front a few days before how you are going to defend against that pressure tactic by somebody else. If you are hosting things at your house, make sure when people leave, they take all the garbage with them. They take the garbage with them. Let them take the carb. Oh, here, I know you guys love cake. Take this with you. By the end of the day, when everybody is gone, there should be no carbohydrate leftovers in the house, even if they started out that way. But make sure there's a ton of food available. And then if you do have dinner that night or the next day you're eating leftovers, the leftovers should be food that you can eat as a meal, ideally mostly animal product based because the vegetables tend to go off. But it doesn't matter what those are. And try to limit or eradicate any leftover carbohydrates, because the reality, as I said before, those carbohydrates are not there for decoration. They're there to be consumed, and you are the one that is going to consume them. If they are present, you will eat them, even if you don't like them. Oh, I never eat this carbohydrate, I don't like them. Of course you're going to. I've never seen a smoker who turned down a brand of cigarettes that wasn't their primary brand. The time comes when you are that victim. And it might not be tomorrow, it might be next week, the following week. Get rid of them on the day of. Every day that goes by that stuff lies there, it's less likely to be eradicated. Get rid of it on the day of. And plan something the next day or that evening to do that's fun or pleasurable. Do something for yourself. Something physically active, something creative, something spiritual and meditative. Have good conversations with the people around you. Now, let's segue to that, because one of the other things that disrupts all the best intent we have, and this happens especially when it's families, and it's happening more and more now with the divisiveness in our politics and in our current world. Make a plan, make a specific plan that if you are going to be with people you don't see that often, you are not going to be sucked into their way of thinking, their politics, their ideation. Don't get dragged into an argument. It is absolutely fine to sit quietly and listen and have a conversation inside of your head with your other friends that live in your head. I know that sounds a little schizophrenic, but keep a very tight focus on what that person is saying and try to be empathetic. Try to stand in their shoes and understand why they have the viewpoints, why they are saying what they're saying. What formulated that opinion? Is it something that happened in their lives before? Is it fear? Is it altruism? Why are they having the conversations? Why are they making the statements that they're making? But the more you listen to them very carefully, the more you put it into the empathetic perspective of how and why they're saying this, the less likely you are going to go down the horrible road of what I call comparison. Comparison is where, while someone else is talking, you hear one or two sentences from them, you make an assessment that you know what they're talking about and that you disagree or agree, and now you're coming up with your own, if they're talking about a vacation they went on, and you're in your head trying to think about a vacation that you went on so that you can compare to them. Well, if you're thinking about yourself, you're not listening to them, you're not having an empathetic human connection. Stop thinking your own thoughts. Stop thinking what's going on in your own life. Stop trying to compare and spend time listening to them and processing. Yes, I agree with you. No, I don't agree with you inside your head. But listen and then ask them a specific, meaningful question about what they said so that you allow them to share what they're saying. Not what you want them to say or not as a rebuttal. And remember this, you are not at the Thanksgiving table going to change any minds. All you're going to do is clash with people. And when you clash with people, now you're going to eat the ice cream because it's going to make you feel better. Resist getting dragged into family conflicts, political conflicts, other conflicts, or judgmental conflicts. Oh my goodness, you've gotten gray, or you've gotten fat, or resist all of those triggers. Smile and know that you went for a run this morning. Don't tell them that. Just know that inside your head. Know that you're feeling good about yourself. But you've got to do that intentionally. You've got to intentionally put that money in the bank. But the more empathetic you can be, the more you're making them feel heard, you're making them have because you're not going to change their mind. You're not going to change their mind. Not in that conversation. It's just going to create conflict that's not going to go badly for you. Just like when some arsehole cuts you off while you're driving and you get angry at them. Now you're escalating. Now you're angry, they're angry, and it becomes this escalation. At the end of the day, you need a tub of ice cream to make you feel better. Dude, your bad day is going to be my bad day. Off you go. Walk away, but don't be passive aggressive. Don't show that disgruntlement. Just smile. Say, hey, I'm not you. You're entitled to those viewpoints. They're different from mine. And this is in your head, not to them. But smile, nod, be kind, but don't get dragged in. Try to avoid triggering events in the presence of readily available crystal meth. Because if anything triggers anxiety or stress or anger within you, frustration within you. Your resolution, your restitution of that is always giving yourself permission to have the carbohydrates. But if you're floating, if you're just delicately floating through the day, having fun, enjoying seeing people you care about, tolerating without getting engaged in the people you don't tolerate, you're going to have a good day. And at the end of the day, walk away being proud of yourself. Always acknowledge that. Wow, I'm really proud of the fact I didn't eat this crap. Because the pride of not doing something harmful to yourself is going to last far longer and be far more impactful in a beneficial way than anything could possibly have tasted. There's no ice cream that tastes as good as not eating it and being proud of not eating it. Because the moment is very short-lived, and the toxicity and the harm and the negativity and the guilt is far, far, far longer impactful in a negative way. Don't be a victim. Plan ahead, and your holidays will be okay. It's good to eat real food. Load it up with fat, load it up with salt. Look for those sources of fat, look for those sources of salt. And if someone criticizes you and tells you you're about to have a heart attack, just smile and let the fat drool down your... No, you don't have to do that. Sometimes I do, though. But enjoy the food, load it up with fat and salt, have a bridge drink, smile a lot, engage with people, but be a door opener. Allow them to speak. This is not a time for you to speak your mind. You can do that at a different time. Be smart, be safe, and then let me know in January how you do. I'll let you know if I'm 4 pounds down or more. But I got a plan. I got a plan. Not a payback plan, but a proactive plan. Don't have regrets and then have to pay it back by punishing yourself. Have a plan that avoids getting into trouble. And the more proactive you can be, and the more you think through that day in and day out and have contingencies, the better you're going to do. Partner up with the people in your safe environment, my wife, my child, partner up with them and do as they do and have them do as you do. I am the Carb Addiction Doc. I hope this helps. But plan ahead. Let's see you in January and see where you are.